All right, my friends, we're going to practice recreating arches and domes in perspective here. And so I want you guys just to kind of play around with this idea. You're welcome to use the inspiration and recreate one that you see, but I'm going to teach you just some principles of how to actually create a standard arch in 1 point perspective. So super simple. And I'm going to do that in a couple ways. I'm going to use my ruler. You guys will notice I have a very ginormous ruler. This is a standard art ruler that has like no skid on the back and it's metal. So I've had this for, I don't even know how long. So, and I'm actually going to use a pen just so that you guys are able to see my lines really clearly on the video. But please use the pencil for this. Pen is not ideal, my friends. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just show you how we can create, I'm going to find a good spot on here. And we're just going to create a box, okay? So I'm going to maybe just do a simple, let's see. I want to make sure it's a perfect square, so maybe let's do 3.5. I could do a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have a 4-inch square here. I'm going to go ahead and I like to use the edges of my page to kind of help me here. And so I'm going to be a little bit off, do the best I can. So I'm going to say maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to do a dot right here and then a dot over here. You'll notice that I'm using my numbers rather than everything else. And then I'm going to connect these dots and that'll show me about where I need to go here. And then I can connect my ends here. And that should be about a square. Obviously it may not be exactly perfect, but we're going to go with it, all right? Because we're just using our time here, all right? Now, one of the things to do here is to remember that we're doing 1 point perspective, okay? So that means that I can draw a point exactly in the center and do 1 point perspective, or I can move that around along a horizon line. I'm actually going to go ahead and create a horizon line just so that we have something to play with in just a second. So I'm going to imagine that this is my horizon line. You'll notice I didn't draw in the center yet because I'm going to kind of make my arch first. Okay. One of the standard ways to do an arch is to simply measure the midpoint from side to side. So remember, these are 4s, so I can measure my 2 on every side. And sorry if you guys hear my ruler hitting different things around my desk. That happens. So I'm just drawing the midpoint all the way around. Okay, I encourage you to do that as well. And then you can lightly connect those lines. I'm going to do just kind of like the lightest line I can possibly draw on here because I don't necessarily want them to be super visible. So hopefully you guys can see that a little bit. Then I can go ahead and actually connect my side or my corners. Okay, so I can kind of show my corners in here. This actually would help me find the center. So help me find that exact point right here. That could be the vanishing point. I could say this is going to be my vanishing point in my archway or whatnot. So if you wanted to find that center, that's a great way to do it. I am obviously, as you saw before, going to end up dropping it down to about here. Okay, but the most important part is when we have those midpoints in our square. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're actually going to create an arch from the midpoint to the midpoint. Just like so. You'll notice how I'm using sketchy marks. They're not super strong, even though I'm using a pen. And I'm creating an arch from midpoint to midpoint. Okay, I can do that all the way around and I would have a circle. That's actually a perfect circle, by the way. If you're like, I need to draw a perfect circle and I don't have my compass. Here's how you do it, guys. Okay, a square, midpoints, and make arches. Okay, now, but since I'm doing an arch itself, instead of finishing my circle this way, I'm going to just use this straight line here. Okay, and that is going to be the side of my arch. Okay, now if you're doing a dome, it's the same process. Okay, you're doing a dome and you can concave it in different ways, however you like. Okay, so everything you need is now here for your archway. Okay, now again, I said that I was going to drop down that vanishing point just a little bit, and here's why. I'm going to make this point nice and strong so that I can see it. Now, I can decide, this is really cool by the way, maybe your arch is a tunnel, okay? So you can do your edges to your arch all the way around and whatnot, but what if you made it into a tunnel, which simply means that you're going to duplicate this arch further back, okay? So maybe I decide I'm going to draw a straight line here. Okay, I can measure it. I'm just going to eyeball it. Kind of get an idea of where that's at. An easy way to do that is like here. You can say, okay, well, I'm going to stop my spot here. Okay, and now you do that same curve. Okay, you duplicate that curve. Something like that. All right. Now, what is super-duper cool is you're going to use that vanishing point here. See, we could do it a couple different ways. I kind of don't like my vanishing point right there now. We can use this point if we wanted to, which would actually be really, really stellar. If we were to use this vanishing point, here's what we would do. You guys see we already have one line. So that's my tunnel point right there. Okay, I can do whatever else I want to back there. Maybe this is an actual street all the way to my vanishing point. Okay, so maybe if I go all the way up, you can use this one. It's just not going to be as extreme. So I want to do something a little bit more dynamic here. Okay, that's a vanishing point. So I can decide to do, maybe I have some buildings here. Okay, maybe I have a really tall building right here, and then maybe I have a tree. Okay, and then maybe another building. You see how it basically has, oh, I need to make these. Even Mrs. Letts works with this sometimes. These are gonna follow these lines to create perspective. And these are gonna follow these lines to create these lines here to create that perspective. Okay, you see that? You see how instantly that was like, oh yeah, that makes more sense, Mrs. Litz. That makes more sense. All right, so then you could end up putting some doorways. This line would come here and down. Drawing from my perspective down. Those ones are pretty much straight because it's going that way. What if I did, oh, this is the best part, guys. Do an extra little like border around. You can make this one a little bit bigger. Ooh, that got a little off. It's okay. And maybe your tunnel is brick. Watch this. You're going to simply line up with your vanishing point to the edge. Make it a little bit smaller. Keep the vanishing point part of your ruler in the same spot. This is where it gets real fun, guys. You can even go ahead, I can do it on both sides as I go. Watch this. It's like a windmill. So I can draw both parts of my tunnel at the same time. You guys see that? I'm just keeping my vanishing point lined up. I'm not really measuring my spaces. That's not of super importance to me right now. I'm just practicing and discovering. You can, oops, I gotta move my ruler down because it ran into the wall. So this is just practicing, exploring, discovering what we can do with arches and perspective. You can do 2-point perspective. That takes things a little bit more, kind of how you see in our examples over on the screen. You guys will notice now I'm going back and I'm using the lines I already had there. All right, so now I got to keep going on this side. I want to make sure I'm not getting too out of proportion here. Let's keep them smaller. It's like I'm making a big fan almost, right? I'm just fanning it around. But once again, you guys are welcome to use any of the examples on the screen. Most of those you're seeing in 2-point perspective, which is doable. You can do it. You just pick 2 points. Usually it's a point over here and a point over here. And so you're lining it up to those points instead of how I'm doing it right now. Okay, but this is a great start. That's why I chose 1-point perspective to start us off here. Almost done. And then I'm going to show you what's going to make it look even cooler. We'll stop right there. Okay. All of the lines that come on this, like you can imagine this panel right here or this edging is flat to us. Okay. And so what you're going to do is these ones are going to be straight. They're going to be horizontal with your horizon. See that? Whoa. Okay. And you can keep them, it does get tricky when you get towards the top because these ones are going to be vertical. And so you basically have to just decide where you're going. I would probably do maybe the midpoint. You kind of have to decide where you're going to start turning it. And you could also do another perspective point if you want to. But you really see that on the sides right here because these are coming down and these are going out this way. So that's really going to help your perspective point right there. All right. Now remember, you can do the same thing on the inside, or you can also do like a shadow. Okay, maybe I want this like shaded in up here in this far back point to kind of give it that feel. Then you can even like shade out from here. Look at that. Obviously, if you're doing pencil, you're able to blend it a little bit more. Take some time with that. But if you just fade out, do a little gradient shading here. Look at our tunnel. Wada bam. All right. You can even do shading differently on the road if you want to. You can do shading here. There's lots of different shading things that you can do. But once again, I could do those lines in there to help with that perspective. Okay? Do as much detail as you want. Maybe I want a bush right here. Maybe a bush right here. Okay, whatever you feel like you want to do, go for it. Okay, maybe I have a series of windows right here. Okay, I would follow this line to here in order to draw basically that like little balcony. And then on the top, it evens out pretty much. So maybe I extend them, and maybe I do them here instead. Okay, to give that extra perspective. They're not really straight. That's okay. All right. So how cool is that, guys? Then you can go through here and you can do other things. I mean, maybe you are making a bigger tunnel. Maybe it looks like you're going through, maybe you just made Arc de Triomphe. Okay, maybe you're looking directly through it. I'm looking at the picture now, and I'm just going to kind of do a quick little sketchy sketch. Okay, you have your big Arc de Triomphe. You can even connect these. See, I could extend these to be in the right perspective. That kind of go across. Whenever you're looking in one point, you're going to have a horizontal and a vertical. Those points don't change. It's everything else that does. My Arc de Triomphe is going to go right off my page. Okay? But you guys can kind of see how you can add those different details. Maybe it would need to be a lot wider if I was really doing the arc. But you guys get the idea, right? Okay, so this one, about where this is, it actually does have a box. You actually can see when you look at the Arc de Triomphe, if you look at that picture, you can actually see the original box at the top. Like that's made into the sculpting, which is super cool. So mine looks like it's going to be more vertical than it is going to be horizontal. So these pillars on the side are very, very large. There's just some figure here and some figure over here. See? So you guys can sketch, you can create, you can have fun with it, all right? So, but notice it's still a tunnel or an arch, and I can make it into whatever I want to make it into. All right. I hope that you guys have fun with this, learn a new skill here, and I can't wait to see which one you recreate.